The judge didn't just say no, he reportedly crushed the entire narrative Blake Lively had been building for months. After endless rounds of legal chaos, late-night filings, and a public relations blitz, the court finally decided enough was enough. When Judge Lewis Lyman officially denied Blake's request for attorney fees, the reaction was described as nothing short of explosive. We are talking about tens of millions of dollars in legal costs that Blake allegedly expected Justin Baldoni to cover. Instead of a victory, she was left staring at a mountain of invoices and a judge who was visibly exhausted by what many viewed as a personal revenge mission. The masks are coming off, and the details are wild. This wasn't just a minor disagreement over a few $1,000s in court costs. Reports suggest the legal bills for this battle have climbed into a territory that makes even the wealthiest celebrities nervous. Some estimates suggest the combined legal war between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni approached nearly $60 million. For any star, seeing those invoices arrive without a way to offload them onto the opposition is a nightmare scenario. People close to the case say Blake was convinced the court would force Justin and his company to foot the bill, viewing it as her right. When that reality shattered, the frustration allegedly boiled over and shifted the entire mood of the proceedings. The judge's frustration didn't come out of nowhere. It was built on months of what insiders call legal theatrics. Reports claim Judge Lyman grew increasingly irritated by how aggressive Blake's legal team became during the closing stages of the lawsuit. There were repeated late-night filings and oversized documents that seemed designed to overwhelm the court rather than provide clarity. At one point, the judge reportedly instructed Blake's team to calm down and stop the non-stop submissions because sufficient information had already been shared. It is rare for a federal judge to be this blunt, but it signaled that the court recognized these tactics as an attempt to use the system for a vendetta. Some of the descriptions of these legal tactics sounded almost unbelievable to seasoned observers. Sources mentioned 70-page documents filed in the middle of the night on the East Coast, filled with heavily redacted paperwork and endless filler material. Critics argued the strategy looked less like someone pursuing justice and more like an attempt to bury the opposing side beneath a mountain of paperwork until they surrendered emotionally and financially. This type of legal warfare is expensive and exhausting, but Justin Baldoni refused to back down. The judge eventually saw through the fluff, noting that only a few pages in these massive filings actually addressed the core legal issues at hand. The wildest part of this financial dispute involves how Blake's team tried to use the law. They reportedly attempted to use California Civil Code Section 47.1 to recover those massive legal costs. This specific law was originally designed to protect genuine survivors from retaliatory lawsuits and prevent victims from being financially destroyed. However, critics now argue that Blake attempted to turn that protection into a weapon against Justin Baldoni, his company, and even public relations consultants. Using a law meant for survivors to chase tens of millions in fees from a co-star created a massive backlash. Many observers found the strategy deeply hypocritical given the image Blake portrays publicly. While Blake publicly positioned herself as a champion for women, reports from behind the scenes told a very different story. Allegedly, while she was speaking about empowerment, female public relations executives and witnesses were being threatened privately by her legal machine. This detail made many people stop and question the true nature of the conflict. The contradiction between the public support for women narrative and the private aggressive tactics against female professionals damaged her credibility in the eyes of the court and the public. It appeared that the goal was total victory at any cost, regardless of who got caught in the crossfire or whose career was put on the line. The cracks in the case became even more obvious when specific evidence started leaking to the public. One of the most discussed examples was the infamous trailer incident. Blake had reportedly portrayed Justin entering her trailer as an inappropriate and unwelcome intrusion. However, once text messages surfaced, they supposedly showed that she had actually invited him inside herself. Once that information emerged, the broader narrative she was pushing began to fall apart. If the foundational stories used to paint Justin as the villain were being contradicted by her own messages, the judge and the public had every reason to doubt the rest of the accusations being hurled in court. Legal analysts were also baffled by the bizarre jurisdictional maneuvering used by Blake's team. They were reportedly attempting to apply California laws inside a New York federal courtroom for a movie that was largely filmed in New Jersey. Similar strategies even popped up in Texas proceedings. This led critics to ask if the goal was simply finding whichever state law offered the best chance of forcing someone else to pay the bills. It looked like a desperate search for a loophole rather than a quest for accountability. By this stage, the case no longer looked like a fight for justice. It looked like a calculated financial maneuver that was starting to backfire. Justin Baldoni was not backing down quietly, and that is what made this situation truly unique for Hollywood. Normally, smaller figures or independent filmmakers would collapse under the combined pressure of two massive stars like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. But Justin stayed in the fight, which reportedly shocked many people throughout the entertainment industry. He wasn't just defending his reputation, he was resisting a full-scale pressure campaign designed to make him disappear. As more court details surfaced each week, public opinion began to shift. Instead of gaining sympathy, Blake's aggressive courtroom strategy only seemed to strengthen Baldoni's public defense. And it wasn't just Blake standing in the center of this storm. Reports claim Ryan Reynolds played a massive role behind the scenes, using his production company Maximum Effort to influence script rewrites and promotional strategies. This was a coordinated effort to shape public perception around Justin Baldoni during the height of the drama. Ryan was reportedly deep in the trenches, helping Blake manage the legal and PR battle as a unified front. But the moment the tide of public opinion started to turn, something shifted. The power couple image they've spent years building was suddenly put to the ultimate test, and the results were not what anyone expected. The second things got truly messy, Ryan Reynolds suddenly seemed to disappear from the narrative. While Blake was left to deal with uncomfortable reporter questions and awkward red carpet moments, Ryan was reportedly attending sailing events in Bermuda. To the public, it looked like he was acting as if the controversy didn't even exist. The optics were terrible. For years, they sold audiences the image of the perfect celebrity power couple who always had each other's backs. Yet, during Blake's biggest public crisis, her husband was nowhere to be found. Online commentators immediately asked the obvious question: if she was truly the victim, why did he vanish? Ryan's sudden exit during the worst phase of the controversy became a major talking point. It was a stark contrast to the reports of him being the mastermind behind the scenes just weeks earlier. Observers noticed how carefully he appeared to distance himself once court filings and evidence became public record. It felt like a strategic retreat to protect his own brand, while leaving Blake to navigate the fallout alone. Meanwhile, Blake's team reportedly kept pushing harder for those legal fees, becoming completely obsessed with recovering the money. This obsession only made the situation more chaotic as they began targeting even more people connected to the film. The legal team didn't stop at Justin. They reportedly started going after additional individuals, including female PR professionals and witnesses. This was the exact moment public opinion turned sharply against her. People couldn't reconcile the image of a courageous woman standing against powerful men, with reports of a celebrity using her massive wealth to fund legal warfare against women who lacked those same resources. The private behavior described in the reports did not match the public image Blake promoted at all. Many saw it as an abuse of power, and according to insiders, the judge was starting to notice the exact same patterns of behavior in his courtroom. The financial stakes were so high that the litigation began to look like an effort to emotionally exhaust everyone involved. The non-stop motions and redacted filings were viewed as a strategy to drain the opposition's bank accounts. When you're dealing with a $60 million legal war, the person with the most money usually wins by default, but that only works if the judge allows it to continue. In this case, the court's visible irritation with the pressure tactics suggested that the exhaustion strategy wasn't working. Instead of a settlement out of fear, they were getting a judge who was ready to shut down the theatrics once and for all. As the legal strategy crumbled, a major crisis management figure entered the chat. Nick Shapiro was reportedly brought in to help shape the public messaging around Blake's legal battle. The new narrative was clear: if Justin Baldoni succeeds in court, then women everywhere lose protections against retaliation. It was a highly emotional argument designed to connect Blake's personal legal bills to the broader women's rights movement, but the internet wasn't buying it anymore. Critics pushed back, arguing that Blake was wrapping herself in social movements specifically to shield herself from legitimate criticism regarding her own behavior and the inconsistencies in her claims. The public began viewing the situation less as a story about empowerment and more as an example of celebrity privilege spiraling out of control. While Blake's team discussed her emotional stress and financial hardship in court, she was simultaneously appearing at high-profile events carrying luxury accessories that cost more than most people earn in a year. The timing couldn't have been worse. Only hours after reports of the lawsuit's messy details became public, Blake was at the Met Gala smiling for the cameras. She acted as if nothing was wrong, which created a massive disconnect between her courtroom persona and her red carpet reality. One specific moment at the Met Gala became the ultimate symbol of this disconnect. Blake began discussing a custom purse that was supposedly inspired by her children's artwork, framing it as a deeply emotional and artistic creation. However, internet sleuths quickly discovered that luxury designers had been making nearly identical bags for years. To make matters worse, versions of that bag sold for nearly $10,000. Here she was, publicly complaining about legal stress and financial burdens, while casually carrying a crystal-covered purse worth a fortune. The optics were disastrous and made her appear completely out of touch with reality. The settlement negotiations reportedly brought the most shocking revelations of all. According to insiders, Blake and Ryan desperately wanted one specific condition included in any agreement: a full, permanent NDA. They allegedly wanted Justin Baldoni silenced forever, prevented from ever sharing his side of the story publicly. This demand alone revealed how nervous they had become about the narrative. For two celebrities who built their careers on carefully managing their image, the idea of Justin talking freely was terrifying, but they underestimated Justin's resolve and the influence of the people standing by his side during the negotiations. Reports claim that Justin's wife, Emily Baldoni, played a crucial role during these high-stakes meetings. She reportedly stood firm against any attempt to silence her husband, making it clear that a non-disclosure agreement was a deal-breaker. The message was simple: no NDA and no deal. This was likely the exact moment Blake Lively realized she had lost total control of the situation. Without a gag order, they couldn't guarantee silence or manage the story behind closed doors. The possibility of the truth coming out without their PR filter was a nightmare scenario for the Lively Reynolds camp, but they had no other choice but to settle. When the settlement finally happened, the details were not what people expected. Reports claimed that no money actually changed hands, and there was no admission of guilt from either side. Most importantly, Justin Baldoni walked away without being silenced. There is no permanent gag order and no lasting restrictions on what he can say in the future. According to Hollywood insiders, Justin may already be preparing to tell his side of the story. Rumors are swirling about potential documentaries, tell-all books, and streaming projects. He survived the legal storm and emerged with his ability to speak fully intact, which is a rare feat. The controversy has turned into one of Hollywood's strangest public implosions in recent memory. Many observers believe it exposed just how brutal celebrity PR campaigns can become when a reputation is on the line. Supporters of Justin argue that Blake and Ryan used every ounce of their massive influence to try and crush him before the evidence was even out. They point to the coordinated media narratives and social pressure campaigns that turned the industry against him almost overnight. It was a masterclass in reputation warfare, but it failed because the legal system and the public started looking closer at the actual facts. One of the strangest casualties in this war was the organization Vital Voices. They famously revoked an award they had given to Justin shortly after Blake filed her complaint. Since Blake followed the organization publicly, critics speculated that Hollywood connections influenced the timing of the revocation. While no one can prove what happened behind closed doors, the sequence of events appeared incredibly convenient. To many, it looked like a coordinated effort to humiliate Justin publicly and destroy his standing in the advocacy community. This type of overlap between charities and celebrity legal battles makes the public deeply uncomfortable with the system. In the end, almost everyone involved in this scandal walked away damaged. Blake's carefully managed image took a massive hit. Ryan Reynolds appeared to bail when things got tough, and even author Colleen Hoover faced backlash from her own fans. The only person who seems to have gained ground is Justin Baldoni, the man many assumed would be destroyed. The controversy exposed the dark side of Hollywood power dynamics and proved that even the most polished PR machines can't always hide the truth. As Justin prepares for his next move, the world is waiting to see what happens when the silence finally ends for good.